welcome back to Demigod Debut. I'm Mal, longtime Percy Jackson fan, and Clarisse LaRue defender.
And I'm Julie, Percy Jackson newbie, and Selena Beauregard, #1 supporter. My poor, sweet baby.
Poor girl. And this is a podcast about Julie's first time reading The Last Olympian and finally getting to hear the mythical great prophecy in its entirety. Huge.
Finally! It's like everybody kept talking about it. I'm like, okay, we get it. Like, just say it already.
Just tell me. Yeah, so we have chapters 3 and 4 this week. Chapter 3 is I Get a Sneak Peek at My Death. And first of all, I just want to point out that every time that I write this chapter title, I spell peek wrong because I can't spell. Sneak and peek sound the same, so they should be spelled the same. But the fact that one is EA and one is EE just... So peek every single time was like PEAK, and that's not how you spell peek. So thank you. That's all I had to say about that. Anyway, so we start chapter 3 with Percy making his way back to camp. And he says that the camp's beach is on the north shore of Long Island, and it is enchanted, so random people can't find it unless they're demigods or gods or really lost pizza delivery guys. And I just need to know more about this pizza guy.
Poor man. He's probably so confused.
And, like, if he was able to find the camp, is he, like, kind of a late-in-life demigod or something? More importantly, did the kids get to eat the pizza?
Did they order the pizza?
Right, that's another thing you have to consider. Did they order the pizza and this guy was just really good at his job and managed to find where it was delivered?
He was not giving up the free pizza, like 30 minutes or less, and it's free. He's
Right.
like, no, I'm finding this place.
So instead of a really lost pizza delivery guy, it's a really dedicated pizza delivery guy.
Yeah, a true artisan.
Great at his craft.
Mm-hmm.
So our good friend Connor Stoll is on lookout duty. Percy says he's a nice guy, except for the fact that he might steal your wallet or fill your sleeping bag with shaving cream. Honestly, an icon. Big fan of Connor. And of course, you know, he's immediately like, where's Beckendorf? And then can tell just by the look on Percy's face what happened. And he's immediately like, oh no, poor Selena.
Mm-hmm.
So we have that to look forward to. And so they kind of, you know, walk towards the camp. Other campers are kind of coming to meet them. And Percy stops in the dining pavilion and like has this nostalgic moment where he's like looking around camp, like Thalia's tree and the woods and Peleus the dragon, and he like thinks about how camp hasn't really changed, but like you can see the war in the faces of the people coming up the hill, and that's just, it's a heavy line.
Yeah, they're kids. Like,
yeah, and like it's too much. But also Chiron is here wearing one of his dumb little t-shirts. It says my other car is a centaur, which feels like his main car is a centaur, but
right.
Sure. And then, you know, coming in with Chiron, we have Annabeth, and I have to read this whole little bit because it makes me feel crazy. So it goes, Annabeth ran in right behind him, and I'll admit my heart did a little relay race in my chest when I saw her. It's not that she tried to look good. We'd been doing so many combat missions lately, she hardly brushed her curly blonde hair anymore, and she didn't care what clothes she was wearing. Usually the same old orange camp t-shirt and jeans, and once in a while her bronze armor. Her eyes were stormy gray. Most of the time we couldn't get through a conversation without trying to strangle each other. Still, just seeing her made me feel fuzzy in the head. Last summer, before Luke had turned into Kronos and everything went sour, there had been a few times where I thought maybe ... well, we might get past the strangle each other phase. Wild.
Every time there's like a little moment like that, I'm like, Mal's gonna read this whole thing. I knew it.
Yes, and I'm going to need to unpack
several
things. I have 4 bullet points
of course
to unpack just about that paragraph. So, number 1, it's good to see that Percy has finally reached the acceptance stage. Our boy is aware that he has feelings for Annabeth. Huge. Second, the way he says it's not like she tries to look good. If someone said that about me, I would kill them.
Yeah, like, what? You mean I'm ugly? What are you saying?
Like, why are you calling her unbrushed and unwashed?
Oh, boys.
It's giving, like, she's not like the other girls. She doesn't wear makeup.
Yeah.
She doesn't even brush her hair, but, like, she's still beautiful.
God.
And then, third, you know, comparing this to the way that he described Rachel in the last set of chapters. And he was like, Rachel looks like 1,000,000 golden drachma, and, like, I've never seen her dressed up like this, versus, like, simply seeing Annabeth, his heart is doing, like, a little relay race in his chest.
Mm-hmm.
Very funny, because, like, there was no reaction when Rachel kissed him. We have more of a reaction to just seeing Annabeth. Love it. And then also him being like, there were some times last summer where I thought we might get past the strangle each other phase. When? Like when she kissed you and then you were marooned on another girl's island and then like came back and immediately invited Rachel on her like what are you referring to?
Yeah.
What are you referring to? When did you think there was going to be time to progress in this relationship? I'm curious. Yeah, but he does a lot of these little like lover boy asides and I'm like, Percy,
He's yearning.
he is. So then Selena shows up and she asks where Charlie is. She is also unbrushed and unmakeuped, which Percy says is unlike her. And the second Chiron says that they should talk at the big house, she like knows and starts crying. We get a bit of an unexpected new friendship here because the first one to comfort her is Clarisse. And Percy says that after Selena gave Clarisse advice about her relationship with her new boyfriend, Chris, she had decided to make herself Selena's personal bodyguard. And like, I love this for her. I love this for both of them,
Yeah.
honestly. Because you even said a couple episodes ago that, like, Clarisse needs some female friends.
Yes. I do just feel like the Chris Rodriguez romance is forced. I don't know if it's just because I've always seen her as a lesbian, but I don't like it.
Yes. Rick Riordan wrote a lesbian, and this is very much giving, I feel like I should have a boyfriend, so I have a boyfriend, kind of like high school lesbian arc.
Right.
So yes. I think this friendship is good for them. Such a fan of this duo. I do not think this relationship will last.
No.
If it leads to this great bestieship, this duo that is Clarisse and Selena,
I do love that.
I love it. And I have way more thoughts on them that I won't go into yet, but like iconic duo. And then Percy is left with Annabeth and Chiron, and so he fills them in on what happened, minus the dream that he had with Nico and like the mysterious plan. And so, you know, we just like keep bringing up the mysterious plan, but for this plan to scare him so bad that he won't even tell Annabeth about it is kind of wild.
Right.
And then it's time for us to go to the attic for our prophecy. And so Annabeth and Percy kind of go up and get it, and they get to look at all the little trinkets, and they find Campe's sword from last summer's battle, and they kind of reminisce. And Percy starts thinking about another time when they were under Mount St. Helens and Annabeth kissed him. Wasn't that a fun time? And they both kind of like awkwardly look away from each other and are like, prophecy time, prophecy.
Right.
Honestly, like, now that we know what we feel for each other, but like can't do anything about it, it's almost worse than the cluelessness that we were experiencing before, you know?
A little bit of forbidden aspect to it almost. Like, they just can't do it right now. They have a world to save.
We have the world to save, and if we both make it through, then we'll do something. It's a different dynamic than we've had before, and I both love and hate it.
Yeah.
Oh, we also get a little bit of Oracle lore here, which is fun. Percy asks why she's a mummy, and Annabeth explains she wasn't always a mummy. The spirit of the Oracle used to be hosted by a beautiful maiden, but their current mummy was the last. And you just did a hair flip when I said beautiful maiden, and that makes me wish that I had kept in a note, because I had in parentheses after that. It was like, beautiful maiden, like Julie. And then I was like, no, that's too cheesy.
Oh my god!
But then you hair flipped and I was like, dang it, I should have kept it in.
That is too good.
Because what is this podcast if I'm not flirting with you a little bit?
Listen, that's our entire friendship, and I wouldn't change it for the world. Boyfriend or not, you're my number one.
I love you.
I love you too.
So anyway, the spirit of the Oracle was once hosted by a beautiful maiden like Julie, but the current mummy is the last one who was like able to be the Oracle, which interesting. And we don't have time to unpack all that because we have to get the prophecy. There's no green smoke this time. The Oracle doesn't even move. Annabeth just like takes off one of the Oracle's necklaces, and it turns out the prophecy has just been in there this whole time, and we could have had it at any time.
But then you would have had to go digging around the mummy for it. Kind of gross.
Oh, right. And the mummy really freaks Percy out, so he was not going to go digging for it.
Rightfully so. Like, that would also freak me out. Like, I'm not going anywhere near the mummy.
Oh, right. No, the mummy is horrifying.
Yeah. Oof.
No, hate that. Bring back the beautiful maiden, please.
Yes.
So we take our prophecy downstairs to the war council, and Percy hits us with one of his like ominous little "I didn't know it then, but it would be the last time I ever visited the attic" lines, because you know he's so drama.
Yeah, what the hell is that? Like, are they gonna blow up camp or something? Like,
could be. Yeah, but his little bit of drama fits well, I guess, with the prophecy that we're about to receive, so we'll allow it. So, down in the rec room, we have War Council around the ping pong table, and there's a fight happening between Clarisse and Michael Yu, who is our new Apollo cabin head counselor after our very good friend Lee Fletcher, who was only mentioned twice last book, was killed.
Oof.
Michael Yu is a short king. Percy says he's 4'6" with another 2 feet of attitude. I did look up the American measurements because the British PDF that we have said he's a meter tall with another half meter of attitude, and I was like, well, I don't know what that means. So I did look it up, and he's 4'6".
Oh my god. Short king indeed.
I had to dig out the American books for that. And so he and Clarisse are fighting over some loot. Apparently they have been for days. And she's refusing to speak to any of them until she gets what she wants. And so she hasn't spoken to any of them in 3 days. And Travis Stoll says, it's been wonderful. I also love Travis Stoll. Both the Stolls, iconic. Yeah, no one will take Clarisse's side and agree that the stuff is rightfully hers. So she says, fine, have fun dying, Aries cabin out. So as soon as we were like, yay, Clarisse redemption arc, she's becoming friends with Selena, she goes and does this. She's got to keep us on our toes.
Yeah.
And so as the Clarisse defender on this podcast, I have some things to say,
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
I'm kind of on her side here.
This is huge.
I'm like, one, she went through a lot.
Right.
I'm kind of like, give it to her. Give it to her.
Right. And I'm saying, this is very much a pride thing. And we can't pretend that, Annabeth wouldn't do something similar in this same situation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look at her in the last book with the Sphinx when there were the questions that she thought was too easy. She was like, I'm not doing this. This is an insult to my intelligence. Clarisse is like, I'm not doing this. You're not giving me the respect that I deserve. Bye. Have fun.
And she's earned it.
Right.
I don't like her, but she's pulled her own weight at camp.
That's what I'm saying. What's Michael Yu done? Nothing. We just met him.
Loser.
Right, exactly.
Short king loser.
This is fantastic, because I was prepared to fight for Clarisse, but me not having to, huge.
No, she's right here. I'm on her side.
Amazing. I mean, do I wish that she wasn't doing what she's doing? Yes. I would like to see Clarisse kick some ass. But I don't think she's wrong. And women should be allowed to stand up for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And not be doormats. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so anyway, our prophecy is as follows. A half-blood of the eldest god shall reach 16 against all odds, and see the world in endless sleep. The hero's soul cursed blade shall reap. A single choice shall end his days, Olympus to preserve or raise. Whew! That's a prophecy.
Hell yeah, it is.
Kind of wild that they made Percy read it out loud to everyone when he is dyslexic, and
that was nice little comedic relief there.
I know, when he read gods as dogs and just
come on, Percy,
because we have to humble him as he's getting the prophecy about how he's probably gonna die. Great. Do you want to make prophecy predictions now or later?
No.
Okay, just not at all.
I knew you were gonna ask too, and I'm like, I'm not gonna write this down.
Good.
Listen. This was at I finished at 4:00. And so I have the prophecy written down because I'm like, oh, I'll think about it later.
And you didn't think about it. Okay.
Later's now.
Later is now.
I'll think about it. We'll come back to it at the end.
Okay. Yes, you can make prophecy predictions later.
Mm-hmm.
But Percy's prediction is pretty straightforward. He's like, great, okay, so I'm dying.
Oh my god, he stole my prediction.
And so, he also has some other predictions. He thinks, the cursed blade might be Riptide, but Jake Mason, who is the new Hephaestus counselor, throws out the idea that, maybe it's Kronos' scythe, or, maybe it's a secret third option. Point is, we don't know what the cursed blade is for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Percy's, kind of feeling angry and defiant, and so he kind of goes, you know what? If I die, I die. We can't worry about that. And Annabeth won't meet his eyes, and her hands are shaking, and I just have to say, Taylor Swift's The Prophecy was written about Annabeth Chase. Miss Swift actually told me that herself. Because, listen, it's the bit that's change the prophecy, don't want money, just someone who wants my company. Think about it. She heard this prophecy, right, when she was 10. And then this kid of the big three shows up. And I think part of the reason she didn't want to like him at first is not only our parents don't like each other, but also knowing that, this guy is probably going to die if he makes it to 16. He's going to die then, if not sooner. But like against her better judgment, she gets close to him, and like now he's the one person who hasn't left her, and he's like the one person who really knows her and is stuck around. But like there's this prophecy that says that he might leave her anyway, and so I could just, see her hoping and praying, like, please change this prophecy. Ah, it's so terrible and so good, and I love angst and drama.
Why did she hear the prophecy when she was 10?
I don't think they ever actually say why she heard the
Hmm.
prophecy when she was 10, but she did know enough of it in Sea of Monsters to like tell Percy that it was about a child of the big three gods turning 16.
Well, it has to be his son, right?
I mean, I guess, unless,
The prophecy uses male pronoun.
yeah, unless it's we're using male pronouns just because it's simpler, and it could be because they also like they thought it was Thalia for a while,
Mm-hmm.
but in theory they've heard this prophecy that uses the he him pronouns.
Yeah, interesting. Because the big three are Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades.
Hades, yes.
How old is Nico here? 14?
Nico is like 12, 13, something in there, because he was 10 in the Titan's Curse, but I think he was about to turn 11.
Okay.
So then he would be 12, I believe.
Okay.
Something like that. But also, they're like, oh, it's the next half-blood of the big three gods to turn 16. But it just says a half-blood shall reach 16 against all odds. So, like, technically it could be, like, you could have a half-blood reach 16 and it not be
Right.
the prophecy.
Because that was part of the reason why Thalia went to be a hunter, right? Or huntress?
Yeah, because the day before her 16th birthday, she was like, I'm never going to turn 16 because this prophecy cannot be about me. But I guess it couldn't anyway because it talks about he, so.
Yeah. Interesting.
This is when we need to bring in the they pronouns.
Yeah.
Single choice shall end their days. I guess there's really only that one his.
Mm-hmm.
Much to consider.
Yes.
I was going to say something, but I'm not going to say it.
Why?
Because I don't want to give you hints.
Ugh!
So, yeah. We got the prophecy. And Percy also brings up the fact that we have a spy who's been passing information to Kronos, and how there's a little silver scythe charm that they've been using to communicate. And of course, they all start accusing each other. First, Connor kind of implies that it might be Annabeth because she knew Luke so well. And then Katie Gardner says maybe it's one of Luke's siblings, which Travis and Connor really don't like. And so, a little bit of fandom lore for you. Travis Stoll and Katie Gardner are/were a pretty popular ship, despite this chapter being the first ever mention of Katie Gardner at all in the series, and them literally never interacting beyond this argument right now.
Love.
Like this is their only interaction, but the internet went enemies to lovers.
Yes. As they should.
Because like this fandom is so thirsty for like background relationships that don't end terribly, like Selena and Beckendorf. So they were like, we're just gonna start making things up.
Yeah, I like it.
That's the fun of engaging with things on the internet.
Yes.
Because, like, to be clear, I am a fan of Travis Stoll and Katie Gardner. I think it's fun. So Selena then calls them all out for arguing when, Beckendorf just died. And so they stop accusing each other. And Pollux, Mr. D's one living twin son, says that they should keep an eye out for a necklace with a scythe charm, which is interesting considering that Lou Kronos has the charm on a bracelet. So, like, where did the necklace assumption come from,
Yeah.
unless Pollux knows something.
Hmm.
Imagine if he was the spy and he'd gotten his brother killed in the Battle of the Labyrinth. That'd be dark.
Yeah. That'd be pretty fucking dark.
And this is either me telling you that Pollux is not the spy or me joking about it to throw you off his trail. Guess you'll never know.
Oh my god, why are you doing this?
I have to have fun somehow. Yeah, and then we finally get to know about the like larger threat that Poseidon mentioned. First, Chiron says he didn't want to tell him until he got back to camp because he needed time with his ... mortal friends. And then Annabeth blushes, which then makes Percy feel guilty for hanging out with Rachel. And then he's like mad that he feels guilty. It's a lot of teenage emotions happening right here.
Yes.
And he also says, he's like, oh, it's dawning on me that Annabeth knows that I've been hanging out with Rachel. Like, you didn't tell her where you were? Why are you sneaking around?
Unless you feel guilty about something.
Right. I'm like, if you feel like this is wrong, I mean, I know like Annabeth is not going to take it well. And I'm not saying you should not hang out with Rachel. So it's like, it's a messy situation. It's a messy teenage situation.
Very much so, yes.
Chiron then shows us an iris message of Mount St. Helens, which has apparently erupted again. This time it is not because Annabeth kissed Percy, but because Typhon has escaped. Basically, he's been wreaking havoc across the United States on his way to New York, and the gods are trying to stop him. And so this is kind of leaving Olympus and New York undefended. And so, Lucronos almost definitely has some other things planned for Mount Olympus in New York. Then it kind of dawns on Percy that the Princess Andromeda might have just all been a ploy, and Lucronos might have just sacrificed the ship to get them to lower their guard, which is a depressing thought, considering, like, we just lost a friend to that ship's explosion.
Was that short story with Charlie and the ants, the giant ants?
Yes.
Was that written before this book came out? Or after?
It came out before.
Was that just to make us care about Charlie more before he killed him off?
Yes, 100%. But in that book, there is like a preview of The Last Olympian.
Mm-hmm.
And it ends with Percy and Beckendorf like flying off on blackjack. So that's like the messiest possible part of that chapter that you could have put in a preview, because so basically you release this book of short stories and you get people to buy it because you're like, here's a preview of my new book, and then you release like half of a chapter in which the girl who is not like the main love interest kisses Percy, and then Percy and Beckendorf like fly off to a mission. I just know that the girlies were losing their mind on the internet when they read just that part of the chapter. And then when you read the rest of the chapter and like Beckendorf dies in the second half, that first chapter is just like
brutal.
Crazy.
Brutal.
Yeah, no. He had to release that to get us to care about Selena and Beckendorf a little bit. And that's why I made you read it.
It worked. What the fuck, Rick?
Yeah, what's wrong with you, Rick? So, just to kind of summarize our current problems. So the gods are fighting Typhon in the Midwest. Poseidon is fighting a losing battle with Oceanus. Olympus is basically undefended. Camp has a spy in their midst. And according to an ancient prophecy, Percy's going to die on his 16th birthday in about 5 days, which is exactly the same time that Typhon is supposed to get to New York. Great times all around.
Great.
It's also kind of funny every time that he refers to this as an ancient prophecy, as if it's like thousands of years old. But the prophecy like literally came from the Oracle in the 1940s. Like this prophecy is not even 100 years old. But yes, the ancient prophecy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe prophecies just like exist and they are like a part of the world even if they haven't been given. I don't know. So maybe it is ancient. Who's to say? So there a lot of just kind of information given to us in this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else from you on chapter 3? I know how numbers work. 3.
No, that's pretty much all I got.
Lovely. Chapter 4 is We Burn a Metal Shroud. And so we start with a dream, and it's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel is throwing darts at Percy's picture.
Honestly,
what a queen.
Relatable.
And so she's in her room in the Dare Mansion, which is like a renovated brownstone in Brooklyn. And she's got the entire top floor as her room. Percy says it's twice as big as his mom's apartment. The way that this is described kind of makes me hate her a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, I'm Rachel Elizabeth Dare's like #1 fan, but man, I hate generational wealth.
I know. Every time I'm reminded that she's rich, I'm like, oh, this makes you less cool.
And I'm like, oh, they are not taxing your father enough.
Very true, because super rich people with like really nice apartments in New York are so wild to me, because I'm like, I pay way too much for my single small room in this apartment in Brooklyn, and you're out here with like floor to ceiling windows that allow you to see the entire Manhattan skyline. I hate you.
Rachel, become a class traitor, please. Please.
Why do you, as a 16-year-old girl, need a bedroom that is bigger than Percy's mom's apartment?
God.
What do you have in there besides like a bed and some drawers for your
And
stuff?
energy bar wrappers on the floor. You can't even keep a room clean.
And another question I have, I'm like, she doesn't even have a maid?
Come on.
What kind of rich girl are you?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
Not that I think someone should have to clean up her energy bar wrappers, but it's just kind of like, maybe she does have a maid and it's like a rebellion thing for her that she's like, you're not gonna clean my room.
Yeah, maybe.
I could see that. Percy also comments on Rachel's music taste because he says there's some alt rock playing, and he says that her rule about music is no two songs on her iPod can sound the same, and they all had to be strange. And so I'm just kind of wondering what kind of music is she listening to that Percy would think is
Yeah.
strange? Because I think just based on vibes, Rachel would definitely be a Chapel Roan listener.
I could see that. I could see her getting into like that weird hyper pop stuff.
Yes. I feel like that would classify as strange.
Like stuff my sister listens to, I feel like Rachel would listen to. And she listens to weird shit.
I don't know what hyperpop is really.
Yeah, I really can't explain it. You have to listen to it. And then you realize that the name
Okay.
really fits.
I also feel like maybe some like K-pop situation or something else that's just like not in English, and so Percy's like, this is weird.
I could see that. You know that like meme song that went viral like 2 years ago of like that Eastern European couple
Yes.
in the Oculus? Do you remember that song?
um
That's what she listens to.
the Planet of the Bass. I love that song. That tank top that she was wearing that said like when God made man, she was only joking.
Yes!
Slade.
My red flag in a guy was that he said he hated that video, and I was like, ugh, loser.
All of the dream. How does it mean
It's so good.
when we out in the space on the planet of the base? Yes, Rachel has that on her iPod.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
And also, perhaps controversially, I could see her being a musical theater girly. Because I'm sure that her father has dragged her to a Broadway show or two because that's what, like, cultured rich people do.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure she was at Hamilton in 2016 when the tickets were $3,000.
That's insane.
I know. Uh, no Broadway show should be that expensive. They do it every night.
Yeah.
That's not to say that, like, what they're doing on stage is not hard. I'm just saying, like, theater should be more accessible, and I'm a little upset that I can see less Broadway shows now than I used to be able to because tickets are so dang expensive.
That's crazy.
Because of the cultured rich people that
Boo.
like, did you know that there are lottery tickets now for some shows that are like $60? Lottery tickets used to be like $35, $45.
Yeah, what the hell?
Tomato, tomato, tomato.
We don't like it.
You hate to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we have arrived at some good Rachel music. Anyway, okay. The picture that she's throwing darts at is of Percy after he fought Antaeus. The way he describes it is so good. He says, my expression in the picture was fierce, disturbing even, so it was hard to tell if I was the good guy or the bad guy, but Rachel said I looked like that after the battle. I love when we get a look at Percy from an outside observer because I feel like when he's telling us what he's doing, it very much presents as like I had no idea what was going on, but then I just like figured something out. But from the outside, he's like terrifying and intense when he fights, and that's just very cool.
Yes.
And then Rachel's dad comes in. He sees the dart situation and asks if Percy won't be joining them on vacation after all. And he also asks if she's still having dreams and headaches. And he says it'll be good for her to get away since she's had some unhealthy influences. And why does it feel like he's talking about Percy there when he mentions unhealthy influences?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, your daughter's hanging out with a poor. And his apartment is only the size of the top floor of your house. He's clearly a bad influence. When her dad leaves, she says something about hoping that they're just dreams, and she uncovers this easel where she's drawn a picture of a young Luke, probably like 9, probably just before he ran away. And she uncovers the next one, and it's the Empire State Building with lightning all around it at the top and like an army all around it at the bottom. And she also Percy says it feels like she knows that he's listening because she like asks, Percy, what does it mean? Then he wakes up and he immediately wants to call her. But there are no phones at camp except for Annabeth's cell phone. And like hell, he's going to ask her to let him use it to call Rachel.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't end well.
No.
Playing that out in my head a little bit.
Just imagine him being like, hey, can I borrow your phone? Yeah, what's up? I need to call Rachel. You better hope the knife is nowhere near.
Throws her phone into the campfire.
Yeah. She's like, actually, I don't have a phone.
Yeah.
So after breakfast, he and Annabeth do cabin inspection, which, like, doesn't necessarily feel like the best use of time when we're 5 days from Olympus being destroyed.
Right, like why is that still on their list of priorities right now?
Percy's job I get, because basically they're, like, collaborating on their chores, you know?
Mhm.
Annabeth has to do cabin inspection, Percy has to sort reports. And so the reports I understand. Cabin inspection,
Not very important.
no. Unless you are, like, inspecting for, like, battle readiness. But it does not seem that we are, because we're, like, taking off points for, like, beds not being made and things not being tidy, and I'm like,
Yeah.
why? But also them kind of doing their chores together is giving kind of that one meme that sometimes people make at work where they're like, when the boss says it's not a two-person job, and then, like, cut to them doing something that is absolutely not a two-person job, but, like, together, like
Mhm.
sweeping together. Like, that's them. These are not two-person jobs. However,
Mhm.
we're gonna do them together. And you know, I love that.
Yes.
Percy gives his own cabin a 4 out of 5 because he's like, yeah, I kind of made my bed and I don't have Tyson to clean up after me this summer, so
Mhm.
I did a pretty good job. And Annabeth, however, gives him a 3, which honestly is generous considering the fact that she, like, picks up a pair of shorts with her pencil and she's like, are you kidding me? I
Mhm.
would have given him less. And that's coming from me, whose room is quite literally atrocious. He's also, like, trying to read the reports, like, as they walk between cabins. So he's, like, reading these things from satyrs and nature spirits about, like, monster activity, which is a big bummer. He does tell us while he's reading the reports that no one has heard from Thalia or the Hunters in months,
Mhm.
which is a bummer. So who knows if we'll be seeing our favorite girl gang in this book. Also, side note, one of my friends that I run with, she got the coolest, like, reflective silver jacket, and it is giving, like, Hunters of
Mhm.
Artemis vibes, and I really want one to run around in because, like, I regularly run with, like, a group of women on Thursday nights, and it feels very Hunters of Artemis
Mhm.
coded to me because anytime I'm with a large gaggle of girls, I'm like, yes, I'm living out my Hunters of Artemis dreams. And but then I was like, if I had a reflective silver jacket,
Yes.
it'd be a game changer. So if you are looking to get me something for my birthday, it's March 14th, by the way. A reflective, I think it was made by Nike. It's like a reflective silver running jacket. I would like. Julie's pulling on her phone right now. No, actually, don't give me that because I did not spend that much on your birthday gift. Your birthday gift was like $15. That's your price limit.
I could get it on Poshmark.
I actually didn't even look it up. I should do that.
Oh, is this it?
Yes, I believe so.
The pictures kind of don't do it justice. Okay, well, I can't get you this. It's $275.
Oh my gosh.
That's a little out of my price range.
Oh my god. Do I run with people who are rich?
It's ThermaFit, so it's like, ooh.
Oh, here's a $25 one on Amazon.
Now we're talking.
Also looks reflective in silver. Please, someone buy me a $200 silver Nike
If
jacket.
we ever monetize the podcast, it will be to just get you this jacket.
We're starting a Patreon
Yeah.
just so I can get this jacket.
GoFundMe, can we get $275? No, you need plus tax because you're in New York.
So I can get a Hunters of Artemis running jacket. It doesn't have great reviews.
The Amazon one?
No, the Nike one that's $200.
Really?
It's got like 3 stars.
Ah, yeah, what the hell?
Well, okay, anyway.
Sorry, what were we talking about?
We may not see reflective silver hunter jackets in real life on my body or in this book because we haven't heard from the hunters. All that to say.
Yes.
So then we go to the Aphrodite cabin, who, despite, their head counselor having a terrible time, gets a 5 on their inspection. And Selena offers them a bonbon that her dad sent her to cheer her up. I want to know how many details her dad knows about what happened. Like, does he know that her boyfriend literally exploded?
Yeah, how do you broach that topic?
And, like, if he does, why is his solution simply chocolates?
I would take chocolates.
If your boyfriend, like, died.
I mean, they would make me feel a little better because I'd be eating chocolate.
Okay.
Like, I'd still be sad, obviously, but I have the comfort. People eat their feelings all the time, and I'm one of those people.
Right. I'm just like, I don't know. It's like it's her dad.
It's more of like an acquaintance, like, hey, I made you a lasagna so you don't have to cook
Right.
type
Right.
thing.
That's more what I'm saying. I'm not saying that like chocolate is a bad thing to give someone.
Yeah.
Like it feels like your dad maybe could do a little more. But also if he's anything like my father, he's not good at showing emotion. But then again, if he like attracted Aphrodite, the goddess of love, I feel like he would have to be a little in touch with his emotions, but
Right.
I don't know. Much to think about.
Hmm.
Does he even know that Selena is a demigod? Because some of them don't. Some of the parents don't.
Yeah. Good point.
They drop these little nuggets, and I'm like, I have
Need
questions that
more.
need answer.
Yeah.
Also, Selena offers them the bonbon. She says they taste like cardboard. Annabeth doesn't take one, but Percy's like, I don't have anything against cardboard, so he takes one.
Hilarious. I love that line.
Yeah.
I was like, what are you talking about, man?
Like,
So stupid.
what's wrong with you? Also, like, do they really taste like cardboard, or they just taste like cardboard because she's sad?
Yeah.
Who's to say? Anyway, so we go outside, and the Apollo and Ares cabins are still fighting. And apparently they have the power to, like, curse each other.
Hilarious.
So an Ares camper turns the Apollo cabin's arrows to rubber, which, like, side note, why are we not doing this in more battles? Is this only a power that we can use in dumb situations? Like, why can we not call down a curse on the enemy army to, like, turn all their swords to spaghetti?
Right.
Like, why are we not making more use of this power? The Apollo cabin's curse, where they like make the Ares cabin speak in rhyme, like that one, that's just funny. We like that one. That's the kind of curses we should be calling down on our friends. But like the Ares curse has like real practical uses, and why are we not using it?
Makes no sense.
Plot holes. But also, like, do their parents have to be involved in the cursing? Because at one point they say is like, oh, the last time Apollo cursed a cabin, it makes it seem like the curse like came from Apollo. So like maybe their parents have to be involved, and their parents can't
Mhm.
get involved if it's a real fight. I don't know. I don't know how curses work. But it is interesting. Percy asks, what are they even fighting about? Annabeth doesn't answer, so then his mind starts wandering. Quote, here it is. I found myself staring at her, which was stupid since I'd seen her a billion times. She was about the same height as me this summer, which was a relief. Still, she seemed so much more mature, it was kind of intimidating. I mean, sure, she'd always been cute, but she was starting to be seriously beautiful. And suddenly I'm wishing that I was the one prophesized to die because I can't do all this lover boy nonsense.
Oh.
Great. No more of that. Get out of here.
Yeah, what the hell?
Turns out, the Apollo and Ares cabins are fighting over a flying chariot that the Apollo cabin captured during a raid that the Ares cabin led, which is a dumb thing to be fighting over when we're on the brink of war. Also,
Right.
can we not simply share the chariot? We all go to the same camp.
Why does it have to be anyone's loot? Why can't it just be like the camp loot?
Right. Shared custody of the chariot. Like, also, your entire cabin cannot be in this chariot. Like, a chariot is max like 2 people, probably.
Right.
Like, let Clarisse and Michael ride in the chariot together. Boom, problem solved.
Let's get so creative with our problem solving skills.
And like, Annabeth seems very sure that Clarisse is going to come to her senses eventually. And Percy's like, that doesn't sound like the Clarisse I know. And it doesn't sound like the Clarisse I know either. Like,
Yeah.
Clarisse is going to dig her heels in, and she's never going to change her mind. So then we go and we inspect the Athena cabin, which is neat and tidy, except for Annabeth's bunk, because her siblings didn't know if it was safe to move her stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At first I was reading this and I was like, they should have just done it for inspection purposes. But then I thought about like how I would feel if my brothers just like came in my room and started cleaning stuff without asking. And you know what? Stabbing them would be a valid reaction. They made the right call, I think. I don't know. Is it different with sisters?
No. Like, don't touch anything. Because I have it in my head where it is. It might look organized, but it's all up here, baby. Like, I know.
Yeah, I
what's
know
going on.
exactly where everything is in its little piles that it's in.
Yes. So if I go looking for something and it's not in the pile where it's supposed to be, I'm gonna crash out.
Yeah, okay. Great. I'm glad it's also valid for you as well.
Yes.
Malcolm also makes a second good choice here because he has evidently learned his lesson after he interrupted them in the cabin last time because he leaves to give them a little bit of alone time.
Hilarious, by the way. Hilarious.
And so first Percy's kind of watching her clean, and then he starts thinking about the camp rules that say that two campers of the opposite sex who have different parents can't be in a cabin alone. And I just have to say that this heteronormative rule is like a real win for the gays.
Yes. Yes.
But also, it's not like there weren't gays in ancient Greece.
Famously a straight heterosexual town.
Famously, it was only heterosexuals in ancient Greece. I mean, I know why it's there. It's very much like a product of the time that it was written, the 2000s. And we want this to be like appropriate for children. So it's like, the characters that are going to date cannot be alone in a cabin because we don't want to imply that things are happening. Great. But you can't tell me that, like, in making the rules, Chiron would just overlook the gay couples. So my working theory
Mm.
is that Chiron simply is saying that being heterosexual is against the rules.
Yes. I love it.
I will say though, I'm pretty sure they change it later when we start getting canonical gay couples. So,
Ah,
yeah.
yeah. Kind of have to adapt the rules on the go, huh?
But like again, you cannot tell me that there were not gays at camp in 2009.
Right.
We also get our it's not technically incest moment, which is, so fun. Percy says that, the gods don't have DNA, so as long as you don't have the same parent, it's fine to date.
You know, Rick had this whole thing like written out. He's like, I swear to God, I'm gonna write how it's
He's like, it's
best.
fine, actually. The part that always gets me, though, is he's like, for some reason, I was thinking about this while I was looking at Annabeth. Like, yes, as I'm watching the girl that I'm in love with pick her things up, I was thinking about how if we dated, it's not technically incest for some reason. It's not weird, but it is a little. Because the over explaining almost makes it worse. Because, like, I assure you,
Yeah.
when I was 11 and reading this, I was not thinking how they're technically related until Percy brought it up. But also, it's like, I understand why you. This is one that I'm like, I don't know what's worse, the explaining it or the not explaining it, because, like,
Right.
it's like, I don't know that you could have not explained it,
Mm-hmm.
but also, like, maybe the way we went about it makes it weird, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's hard. It's a tough call.
And then, Annabeth hits us with things like what happened with Beckendorf, really get you thinking about what's important, the people who are important. And Percy just straight up panics and he looks at her earrings that she got from her dad and he's thinking about her dad. And so he's like, is everything good with your family? So, like, we don't even need Malcolm to interrupt because Percy can ruin the moment himself. Like, self-sabotage.
Like, way to go, Percy.
Just way to go, Percy. And Annabeth says that her dad had wanted to take her to Greece to see the Parthenon this summer. And Percy says, well, there'll be other summers, except, maybe there won't be other summers
Yeah.
because the imminent end of Olympus. Perhaps Annabeth will go to the Parthenon someday. They read one last report, and it's from a satyr named Gleason Hedge. Interesting. Looking for Grover, who apparently we haven't heard anything from in a couple months. Like, even with Percy's empathy link.
I don't like that.
Last we heard from Grover, he was in Central Park organizing the Dryads, but nobody's really sure where he went or, like, if he's even still alive. Percy's kind of like, well, he told me at one point that I would die if he dies because of this empathy link, so, like, he's probably still alive, but, like, we're not really sure, so that's good. And then Percy decides, galaxy brain moment, to bring up his dream about Rachel to Annabeth and asks if, like, Annabeth thinks that Rachel's picture that she had drawn of, like, the army around Olympus could be a sign of what's to come.
Mm-hmm.
And Annabeth insists, like, Rachel is just a mortal, and so we'll just have to be ready for whatever comes. And Percy says something salty about how, like, how can we even be ready if we can't stop fighting? And I'm gonna have to get my stupid soul reaped. And Annabeth hits him with some lines that I think about a lot. She goes, I knew we shouldn't have shown you the prophecy because all it did was scare you, and you run from things when you're scared. You're a coward, Percy Jackson.
She was really trying to hurt him.
Oh yeah. And he's like, I get the feeling maybe she's not talking about the prophecy.
Mm. Oh, God.
And that's a very astute observation, Bud, considering not 5 minutes ago, when she started to get real, you got weird and started asking about her family. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you literally just, like, ran from the serious moment.
Right.
He's so dumb.
He really is.
It's like the most frustrating part is that like we have to sit through the Annabeth is so pretty and I love her in his narration to like the second that
How's your dad?
things start going in a romantic like direction. He's like, I can't do anything. How's your
How
dad?
about this other girl that you're jealous of? Let's talk about her.
Yeah, let's talk about your dad and let's talk about Rachel.
Buddy.
Oh, he's such a teenage boy.
So true.
And Annabeth is 100% justified in the way that she's like, maybe you should go on vacation with Rachel, and then immediately storms off and like punches the tetherball on her way out. Love it.
Love. Not an overreaction at all.
No, not an overreaction at all. Did you also play tetherball at recess as a
We
kid?
do not have that.
We had one tetherball at the school that I went to for like half of third grade, fourth and fifth grade. I was obsessed with tetherball. I was terrible at it, but I loved tetherball. And after I read this, I like fantasized about having an argument with someone and walking off and getting just punched the tetherball. I feel like it would be cathartic.
For sure.
So yeah, if someone knows where I can find a tetherball, like I would like to punch it. And then we finally get to our titular shroud burning. So we're burning Beckendorf's shroud. Bummer all around. And afterwards, Percy goes and he talks to Selena, who's being comforted by Clarisse and Chris, her very real male boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And he tells Selena that like about Beckendorf having her picture and how she made this last year the best year of his life, which of course makes her cry more. But also, I don't think it was the wrong thing to say. Like it was sweet.
Oh.
So Clarisse, don't be mad at him.
Yeah.
Then Selena leaves. Percy tells Clarisse that she should fight to help honor Beckendorf, and Clarisse, of course, refuses because, pride. And Percy says, you know how I saved your life 2 years ago in the Sea of Monsters? That means you owe me one, and so you should fight. And she says, no, because, like, her cabin has been disrespected too much, and she's sick of just being, like, their muscle that they just call in whenever, and then, like, talk crap about behind their backs. And, like, again, she's kind of right.
She's right, but also this is like the end of the world.
Right. It's like if we were not a teenager, I would have less sympathy for her. But like, the reasons behind it make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Chris also, agrees with Percy, which of course makes Clarisse even madder. So she storms off, and Percy then goes to the sword fighting arena because he wants to go see an old friend. Also, last thing on Clarisse. The frustration with like not getting respect from camp is real, is valid, but also, girly pop, maybe it is time to do some things that like earn your cabin.
Stop being a bully, maybe? That might help.
Maybe this is a good start to like earning some respect.
Yeah.
Maybe if you really prove yourself in the fight, they'll let you have the chariot. But also, if she already feels like the chariot is like owed to her, I don't think having to do extra work to like get it is gonna change her mind. Yeah. Anyway, the motives are sympathetic, but like the actions kind of suck. Bad timing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Anything else about this one?
No, just that not hearing from Grover is making me nervous. I don't like it.
Ah, Grover. What a guy.
I miss Grover.
Okay. Would you like to make some predictions?
Sure. I have chapter predictions written down.
Great. We're doing 5 and 6 next time.
Chapter 5, I drive my dog into a tree. I'm going to assume that's Mrs. O'Leary. I would like to see her return. I wrote, do we see Quintus's dog again? Because when I was writing the notes, I couldn't for the life of me remember the dog's name. I was like, it's Mrs. something. I'm like, what was the dog's name? But it was literally like 10 of when I was going to leave. And I was like, I can't. I just need to print this out and leave. Like, I don't know what the dog's name is.
But you remembered the dog's name.
I did. I was like, don't forget Mrs. O'Leary. Mrs. O'Leary. And then chapter 6, my cookies get scorched. I'm going to say Percy ends up on fire. because I think it would be funny. I think cookies is a metaphor.
Interesting. Great. Did you give any more thought to the prophecy?
I just realized I wrote a typo in the prophecy.
Half-blood of the eldest dogs?
No, I did. Instead of hero, I wrote Heo.
Oh.
Bring that thing. Yeah. What is Luke's weapon sword called?
Well, he had the sword Backbiter that then they like melted down to turn into the scythe.
Okay. I think that might be the cursed blade. I don't know.
Interesting. Do we think it is Percy's soul that we are going to reap?
Well, no, because he can't die. Because there's like a million other series.
You also spent a long time campaigning for Percy to be killed off.
Well, because I think it'd be funny, and it'd be like a great twist, you know.
Yeah.
So maybe I actually want Percy to die. I take it back. I want Percy to die for the bit.
And like, who's to say that someone who's dead can't come back? I'm just
Right.
saying, you know?
He's gonna die for the bit. That's what I'm going with for now.
Amazing. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other predictions you could make at this point, unless you're like, the choice is gonna be this, but like, could be anything.
Yeah. Need more context. Need a couple more chapters. We'll revisit it.
Well, we'll be back with 5 and 6 next time. They're good ones. They're
I'm
good
excited.
ones. Anyway, I don't have anything else.
Yeah, that's all I got. That's all she wrote.
They're all great chapters. There's gems in all of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're all exciting, and we're about to get into the really good stuff. So I'm excited.
I'm excited.
We're about to scorch some cookies.
Let's do it.
Hi, you can find us on social media at DemigodDebutPod. You can also find links to all of our socials in the episode description. And if you enjoy consuming this podcast, please consider leaving us a rating or review wherever you are listening. See you next time for chapters 5 and 6. Bye!